Howdy everyone, and welcome back to The More You Grow. First of all, I want to apologize for having such a long absence here on the channel. I've got to say I kind of underestimated the amount of time that would be taken up in my first year of teaching. I knew that the first year of teaching was the hardest. That's what all the teachers have told me. If you're a teacher, then you probably know how hard the first year is. I'm having to make everything from scratch. So I'm making all my lessons from scratch as far as teaching things the way I want to teach them, making sure that students are getting the things I want them to get out of my classes. And really, I'm just trying to set myself up for success for the coming years. So putting in a lot of work now so I don't have to put in as much work later on. But that's taking a little bit of toll on my time. A lot of times I'm having to stay up at the school till 9 o'clock at night getting things ready. And just as I was getting everything kind of on track and I was getting a swing of things, Corona showed up. So we had to learn how to teach all of our students online or in paper packets within a week. So been trying to get caught up on that, and I think I'm finally getting the hang of it. So I had a little bit of time, and I'm hoping to have a more regular schedule now here on the channel, now that I'm kind of getting things a little bit more regulated. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about food security. With all this coronavirus going on, it's really gotten people thinking, what am I going to do for food? Because you saw people start just hoarding food and ransacking grocery stores to where there was zero food on the shelves. Like, you could see pictures and videos of whole grocery stores emptied. And then if you run out of food, what do you do? What do you do in a situation where there's no food in the grocery stores? Well, I think this is a time for us to think about how we can produce our own food. Many of us on the homesteading channels have already talked a little bit about what we do for food security, and we've been kind of thinking about this for a long time, but now this is putting it into a new perspective. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to talk about my top 6 crops that I'm going to grow this year for food security. So let's go check it out. Okay, so my number 1 crop that I'm most excited for growing for food security is squash. I know that sounds mundane because people grow squash all the time. It's not uncommon in many gardens, and I'm kind of lumping this all together because I will be growing summer squash, but the crops I want to talk about, the squash I want to talk about right now, are the winter squashes. These are different than summer squashes because they can store for many, many months. Summer squashes are very tender, and that's why we like to eat them, but they don't last very long. They rot very quickly. But the winter squashes, they can store for many, many months. They have a very hard rind on them, or a very thick skin that helps to keep them to preserve longer, helps to keep them from rotting as fast. And the two I've got here are spaghetti squash and butternut squash. The spaghetti squash, many of you are probably very aware of what this is. You've probably eaten a lot of it. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. But if you ever tried to cut one of these, you know how hard that outside rind or that outside skin is, and that lends to it lasting a very long time. It can sit in an unrefrigerated section. You don't have to refrigerate it, freeze it, can it, anything like that. You can just set it in a good aerated cardboard box in a garage or something like that. It will last for many, many months if stored properly. The other squash I have here is butternut squash, another winter squash, but this isn't just any butternut squash. This is a very special variety to me. This is called rugosa butternut squash. This is an Italian variety. I've seen this grown at Howdy Farm before, and I was so impressed that I had to grow it again. One thing, it doesn't make just your regular butternut squashes. Most of the time those are around this big, something like that. I've seen these at the farm get 3 times bigger than any butternut squash I've ever seen, while still staying very delicious and very tender. And I'm also growing these crops for a dual purpose. I'm also growing these as my ground covers. These, especially the rugosa butternut squashes, they make huge leaves, something like this big. And if you've just got vines covered in these leaves, they're helping out with keeping the weeds down by shading out the ground. It's keeping the soil a lot cooler. It's also helping retain the moisture in the soil. So I plan to grow these intermixed with my tall crops like okra and tomatoes and other things like that, because they will just grow along the ground and provide ground cover for the other plants, benefiting everything in general. So that's my number one that I'm excited for, because I think I can grow a lot of food with these, and they're also going to provide a dual purpose for my garden. So let's go on to number two. So my second crop that I'm excited for are my Yardlong beans. I've grown these here on the channel before, and if you want to see that video, I'm going to leave it at the end of this video, so be sure to stay tuned till the end and you can check that out. So I have two different kinds of Yardlong beans here. I have my favorite. This is the ones that I grew in the video. This is Orient Wonder Yardlong beans, and I've got a new variety that I've not grown before, but I'm very excited for. It's the Chinese red noodle Yardlong beans. They call them noodle beans sometimes you see them as asparagus beans, but they're all Yardlong beans. You can just choose whichever name you want. The reason why I'm so excited for these is because of how much food they produce. I have to pick these 2 times a day, if that tells you anything, and I have a huge harvest twice a day. I would get a bundle of Yardlong beans, maybe this big around, twice a day. And if you know anything about them, they're not just your regular green bean. They don't just get so big. They don't get a yard, but they get about 18 inches long. And they grow just as many beans as the regular green bean plants, but each one is 18 inches long. I'm excited for these because last year I was growing so many I didn't know what to do with them all. But this year what I want to try to do is I want to try my hand at canning. I want to try to can some green beans. I want to try to make some pickled Yardlong beans and see how that goes. And I also want to try blanching and freezing Yardlong beans and store them in something like vacuum seal containers. So I want to try storing these in multiple different ways because it grows so many. I had maybe 20 plants in that video, and I got so many I didn't know what to do with them all. I was giving them to people, I was cooking as many as I could, but there was still so much. So I'm excited to try these with food storage in mind, so trying to store them in different ways. So stay tuned and we'll see how they do this year. So number 3 that I'm excited for are microgreens. I have them in the house. I don't have them here because the bags are a little bit bigger, but I'm going to try growing 2 different kinds of microgreens. And the reason why I'm excited for those for food security is because of how fast they grow. Within a week to 2 weeks, I can have a harvest from time of planting. Nothing grows faster than that. You can try radishes, stuff like that, but you're still looking at 4 weeks before you get a harvest, 4 to 5 weeks before you get a harvest. With microgreens, you're getting very nutrient dense and fast growing food. Within 2 weeks, you can have food that is very high in vitamins, minerals, usually a higher protein content, because instead of putting all that nutrition into a large plant, all that nutrition that was stored inside those seeds is now available, nutritionally available to us as people. So I'm going to try to do 2 different ones. I'm going to try the field pea shoots, and I'm also going to do the black oil sunflowers. I've eaten the black oil sunflower microgreens before. I gotta say, they're so delicious that I'm going to try to grow my own black oil sunflower seeds this year. I'm going to try to devote part of my farm into black oil sunflowers, because the seeds, to get high quality seed that is not been stored in improper conditions and is good for human consumption, they're a little bit expensive. So I want to try to grow my own seed for microgreens this year. So I'm excited to do that in a video with y'all and see how it goes. But as far as fast food, nothing's faster than the microgreens. So I'll be doing those on videos this year as well. So number 4 on my list is gonna be greens. So I just lump them into one big category. Greens can be everything from lettuce to spinach, Swiss chard, and kale. There's all different kinds of greens out there, and they can grow at different times of the year. The reason why I chose greens for this list though is because they grow very quickly. In this case with this butterhead lettuce, we're looking at 65 days for a full head of lettuce. I've got some techniques I'm gonna do this year that I think I can cut that time down a little bit. And I think I'll be able to grow greens year round very sustainably. So I'm gonna keep that a secret for now, but here in a video coming up, I'm gonna show you my plan for year-round greens. So if you're looking for something that's gonna grow fast, good nutrition, and it's not gonna take up much space in your garden, look at in the spring and the fall growing greens. And they may not be something that you can preserve, that you can make last for months and months, but it's food that you can grow quickly, and sometimes that's more important than growing food for long term. You want to have a good mix of each. So let's go on to number 5. So number 5 on my list, I don't have with me here to show you because it will be coming in the mail around the end of May, and that is sweet potatoes. I'm gonna be getting sweet potato slips, that's how we start our potatoes, in the mail around the end of May. And sweet potato slips, all that is, if you've ever seen a sweet potato start to sprout, if it's left in your pantry too long, those sprouts, when you take them off and root them in, you can grow a whole new sweet potato plant. So I've got around 50 sweet potato slips coming in the mail at the end of May, and I'm choosing those for a lot of the same reasons that I chose the squash, because they're going to be a good storage crop. I don't have to have special refrigeration for them, don't have to can them or preserve them in any way. If I cure and store them properly, they can last months just stored in a warm garage or maybe an extra bedroom, and it will be nutrient dense food that I can have in the times where I can't garden, or when I run out of food here at the house. If for some reason things got worse and the grocery stores just got completely wiped out, I would have food that I can depend on that would sustain me and my family for a good long time, as long as I store it properly. So another good thing about the sweet potatoes that's got me excited is that you can also eat the greens. So not many people realize this, but sweet potato greens are very delicious, especially when you get the young tender tips of the vines. So you can take those, you can stir fry them down, you can wilt them like you would lettuce, add a little bit of olive oil, some garlic. Absolutely delicious. I'm so excited to do that this year. And I'm gonna use them in a lot of the same ways that I do the squash as well, as a ground cover. So something that I can have that will grow along the ground. I'll put a picture up here in just a minute, hopefully, where I can show you where we've grown sweet potatoes with other crops, especially tall crops, things like okra and roselles like I've grown before, and all different kinds of tall crops. They're gonna grow underneath those, and they're gonna provide the shade to the ground to keep the weeds down, that moisture in, help to cool that ground down. So it's going to provide a lot of extra benefits on top of providing a great crop that I can keep for long-term storage. So that's my number 5. Let's go on to, last but not least, number 6 on this list. Number 6 on this list is going to be a crop that I see as the ultimate crop for food security, and that is the sunchokes. I've done a video on my sunchokes before. I'll leave it at the end of this video along with the Yardlong Bean video. But this crop is one that I know I can depend on when times get hard. Sunchokes, if you don't know what they are, it is a plant that is in the sunflower family, as the name would kind of suggest. But these create a tuber at the bottom of the plant that acts as its way of food storage, but it's also in a way kind of a root crop for us as people. They have a wonderfully nutty flavor. They have kind of a potato-like quality, not as starchy, but they have this wonderful kind of sunflower, sunflower kernel kind of flavor to them. They have a nutty flavor to them. They're wonderful roasted, boiled. I'm gonna try to do some of these this next year as pickled. I've seen those like fermented, and they seem like those are really good. But the reason why I chose this crop for my list of food security crops is because it grows no matter what. I've not figured out a way other than just to kill it with like pesticides or whatever to even kill this stuff. I warn people when I give them starch for this that you gotta be sure you want that there forever, because there's no way of getting rid of it really. You could try, you could keep mowing it, you could try to dig it all up, it's not gonna matter. Because unless you dig up every single tiny little tuber of this, it's gonna come back. But that's one of the reasons why I like it. If something goes wrong, I know I can depend on this crop to be here for me. And the thing I like about it is I don't even have to figure out how to store this properly. A lot of times with like sweet potatoes, squash, other things like that we choose for food storage, you have to cure it properly, you have to keep it under the right conditions, all that good stuff. This, I just leave it in the ground. I leave it in the ground all winter long, and I just come out and grab some when I need it. I don't harvest this until after the first frost, but from after the first frost until it starts sprouting again in spring, it's here and perfectly stored. It doesn't dry out, it stays in the soil nice and moist. It just stays dormant down there. And I can just come out and grab however many I want for dinner, leave the rest and come get them when I need to. I didn't get to do a video this year on harvesting the sunchokes, but I promise I'll do one this next fall when they come along. I'll show you a little bit of footage that I took of harvesting a few out, just so you can see what it was like and what they looked like when they came out of the ground and how many I got. But if you want to talk about food security, guys, sunchokes is one you need to add to your list. Well guys, that's going to be my top 6 list of crops I'm going to grow for food security. I'm going to do videos on all these when it comes time. Like I said, I want to apologize for being absent here on the channel for a little while. I know many of you are probably wondering what happened to me and if I was going to even be back on the channel. I want to take the time to thank a lot of you have reached out to me in this time, and just out of being concerned and wanting to know if I was okay, if everything was good. I can say everything is good, and I really want to thank y'all for reaching out and for all the kind words that many of you have given. It's given me the encouragement I need to keep pressing on and to show that everything is happening for a reason here on the channel. Without you guys, this channel wouldn't exist, and you are what make this channel what it is. Yes, I'm here as the kind of host, I make the videos, but without you guys, this channel would be nothing. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me through this hard time and for all the support and encouragement that you've given me. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions about any of the crops I listed in this video, be sure to leave them down in the comments, along with any crops that you recommend that I grow for food security. If I didn't put one on the list, I'd love to hear it down in the comments. I will be growing other things other than the stuff I listed. I'll be growing a ton of stuff, but that was my list of 6 that I wanted to put down for food security. So like I said, leave it down in the comments if you have any other suggestions. If you haven't done so yet and you're so inclined, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Go check us out on Facebook and Instagram at The More You Grow, and hit that bell icon for notifications so you'll know when I upload a new video. And until next time, I hope you'll join me right here on The More You Grow.